I think not a lot of people in Ireland think about whether or not their business could have an app. Now, before I tell you you need an app, let me start by saying you may not need an app, and I think that is very important. We come across a lot of people who come to us with app ideas that frankly aren't a great idea. So I'm going to start by saying you may not need an app. What I want to do is give you some examples, or give you an example, a fictitious example of a typical type of app approach that we get. The single biggest problem I come across when people come to us and ask us to build an app is them trying to solve the wrong problem. They often think that an app is the thing that's going to make us different from our competitors. It's going to give us an edge. It's going to be the reason people are going to use us over somebody else. And in some circumstances, that can absolutely be the case, but often it's not necessarily the case. So let me begin by, like I say, a fictitious example. It's very similar to the type of stuff that we do see quite regularly. And it goes something like this. A customer comes up and they tell us about their business and they think they need an app. So they say something like, we run all the walking trails for all of Leinster, and we want an app for our users. And we take them off into a business workshop and we say, tell us about the business problems you are trying to solve, and we'll think about whether an app can do that. And they give us a couple of reasons, the reasons why they believe they need an app, and they say something like this. They say, we'd like to attract more people to our trails. We'd like people to use our trails in a safe and secure manner. We want to promote local businesses that are near the trails. We're getting into kind of more suspect, questionable business needs here. And then there's often a thing like, well, we also did this yearly trails weekend, and we want everybody to come to our trails weekends. We want a place that we can promote them. We think an app will be great because we'll have all the users in the app and we'll be able to send them push notifications and they're all going to come to our trails weekend. Now, if you stop and think about the business of providing trails, where's the value? Well, the value is in getting people out into the fresh air. No amount of app is going to make any difference to that. People aren't going to think, I'd like to go on a walk this weekend. I wonder if there's an app for that. Or they don't go, I'm holidaying in Leinster, but the Munster people have an app. I'm going to go there and go for a walk instead. So if we go back to the business needs, we want to attract more people. Well, that's not really going to work. People don't say, I want to go on a walk this weekend. I wonder if there's an app for that. And then we stop and say to them, tell us a bit more about your trails. Are they badly signposted? No, they're really, really well signposted. In fact, we produce these really detailed leaflets. They're great. What's your safety record like? Our safety record's great. Nobody's ever hurt themselves. So we're trying to make it safe for people to use already safe trails. There's no problem there in the first place. Okay, so maybe there is something in promoting local businesses. There's probably something in that. Not really great for the trails people, but good for the local businesses. And promoting your yearly trails weekend is a fancy way of saying in 6 months' time you want to send push notifications to people who've forgotten about you. So the problem here is these folks, they don't need an app. And if we stop to think about the actual work involved, well, to attract more people, we're going to need to do a lot of marketing. To make it safe and convenient, well, we don't need that. Well, maybe we do. Okay, so we'll make some offline trails. You're going to have to go off and get all your trails surveyed so that we can provide an offline map. And we're going to be able to promote local businesses, which means you're going to need a content management system. And we're going to be able to promote your yearly trails weekend through push notifications, which means you need a back-end push system. So here we go. We've got an app for iOS, an app for Android. 40 grand a piece, maybe. 80,000 euro. I don't see a return on that investment. So before you jump and think your business needs an app, we need to go back to first principles and try and think about, is there business problems that can be solved? Now, I will give you some examples of business problems that are solved using apps. And hopefully I can actually show you some of the business benefits. So I often stop and think, well, what sort of reasons should we think about? What sort of clues will give us that maybe an app is appropriate? And here's a couple of things I'd often say to people. Is your website worth a bookmark? If your website isn't worth a bookmark, people are coming to it once a year to find out your address. An app's not going to help you. You don't need it. But if your website is worth a bookmark, that implies that there is a service that you are providing and people are coming back to it. Now go take a look at your analytics. And if you're finding that people are coming back on a mobile device, well, that's telling you that people are interested in your service and they're looking at it from a mobile device. Maybe you have something here. And then let's start to think, if you had an app, can you make your service more compelling? Can I make it more compelling than your customers, or than your competitors, I should say? And can I just make it generally better for your customers? If the answer is yes to the three of them, maybe you have an idea for an app, and maybe there is an app in it. So I'm going to give you a couple of reasons why we find people make apps that do provide business benefit. The single biggest advantage an app can bring is convenience. And I really, really believe that we as humans are quite drawn to convenience. If your app makes obtaining your service more convenient than your competitor, that will be a competitive advantage. I would even suggest that in many cases, convenience is more of a driver than price can be. So let me give you an example. This is an app we worked on with PayZone. Now, before Parking Tag exists, I don't know, hopefully a lot of you know this app. It's used for paying for parking in Dublin. Before this exists, there was a number of ways to pay for parking. You could go up to a parking meter, bring your change, put it in, and produce a ticket and leave it on your dashboard. Or you could use the Parking Tag service, which was an online service, which you had accessed either by calling up an IVR system and giving it details of where you are and so on, or you could send it a very well-crafted text message, which is very specific. You'd say green, space, your address, the number of minutes, and so on. And PayZone came to us a good few years back and said, we think we might need an app. And we said, you think? So we built this for them. We still run it. It's still used. It's in fact the number one way to now park your car to pay for your parking in Dublin, Arklow, and a number of other places around the country now, in fact. But just talk about it in terms of the business benefits. Motorists love it. Motorists love it because of this mention of convenience. You get out of your car, you do a couple of taps, you say, I want to park for this long, bang, gone. You forget about it. It's also got this nice feature that you're sitting in a meeting, and a meeting runs late. You pull out your phone, you park for another 15, 20 minutes, whatever. So motorists love it. That's the business benefit there for the motorists. Dublin City Council love this. And the reason Dublin City Council love it is the convenience has improved compliance. Because before you had a convenient way of doing it, say you're calling into your office, you have to stop for 10 minutes, you pull in, you put into a parking bay, you've no change, and you go, it's 10 minutes, I'll chance it. And 9 times out of 10, you'd get away with it. And off you go. Maybe sometimes you get clamped, but by and large you get away with it. Now what happens is you've got this super convenient way of doing it. You say, oh, it's 10 minutes, but I won't chance it, and you pay for your parking. So compliance levels have gone right up since we've produced the app. So the City Council love it. PayZone love it. And PayZone love it because, frankly, it's the cheapest way to run the service. The IVR system is costly. The text system is costly. But this is the cheapest way to do it. Parking Tag has 180,000 users. It's the number one way to access parking in Dublin, and it accounts for over 80% of their transactions. So the next reason I want to talk about is it might be where your users already are. And this one's a little more subtle, but we've worked with PREPAY Power. Now, PREPAY Power entered the power market a couple of years ago when the electricity market got deregulated. And it used to be that you called up PREPAY Power, you told them you wanted to join their service, a man came out and installed a new meter, and that was kind of the end of your interaction with PREPAY Power. When you wanted to buy electricity, you went to your local Spar, you bought a prepaid voucher just like you do with a phone, and you come home and you key that into the meter. And now, like I say, that was the only interaction you really had with PREPAY Power. And shortly after that, they launched an online version, so where you could purchase online directly from their website. And take-up wasn't as high as they expected. And there was two things they noticed. One was take-up wasn't as high, and two, a lot of people were accessing that website using mobile devices. And one thing they hadn't really countenanced was not everyone has a laptop. Not everyone has a broadband connection at home. So we developed them an app, and it allows you to buy your prepaid power through the app. It's got a number of convenience features. It lets you store your debit card information, so you don't have to type that in every time. You still have to type your power code into the meter, but it's got this nice little convenience feature where it'll actually speak it to you, so it'll tell you the thing as you're typing it into the meter. And it also offers a new feature, which is an auto top-up. So when your electricity level goes to a certain amount, it will say, I'll go off to your bank account and top it up automatically. The point of all this, though, is that the user gets to use it where they need to use it, which more often than not is they're sitting at their couch at home and an alarm goes off in their meter to tell them that their electricity level is low. And like I say, not everyone has a broadband connection, not everyone has a laptop, and a lot of the prepaid power customers were now faced with a problem. I got to run to the shop. Now they do it all from the comfort of their home. Now again, to talk about business benefits, well, look, for the customer's just happier, right? The customer has less accidental disconnections because they don't run out of electricity. They've also a situation where they're out and about and their teenage kids call them and say, look, the electricity's gone low, and they can just top it up there and then. And then from prepaid power's point of view, well, less accidental disconnections means more happy customers. More happy customers means less churn. So they're, if you like, losing less customers. And that's a fancy way of saying more sales. And of course, this auto top-up feature that's in there also means effectively more sales. So the next reason I'd often think about when I'm thinking about whether or not to build an app is it might well be the best tool for the job. And a modern smartphone is it's a video capture device. It's a video playback device. It's a GPS unit. It is an accelerometer. It is a camera. It's also a phone. And it's a mapping device. And all of these together turn it into something very, very powerful, the likes of which we haven't had before a smartphone. And we were approached last year by Radical, who are an ad agency, and they wanted to use a mobile phone for what I would call social good. And we worked with them and Toyota and the Road Safety Authority on a campaign called Face It Down. And this would not have been possible before the mobile phone. So the way Face It Down works is, the idea behind it is it's to promote you to not use your phone while you're driving. It's to try and turn you into or help you form good habits in terms of driving. So the way it works is you get into your car, you're about to go on a journey, you launch the Face It Down app, You hit the start button and you face your phone down in the center console of your car or on the passenger seat or whatever, and you go off and do your journey. And what the app does is it recognizes, hey, I'm on the move. It can use GPS to say how far I've moved. It uses the accelerometer and the gravity sensor to say, hey, I'm also still face down. And at the end of your journey, you pick it up and you say, I'm finished my journey. And it recognizes how long you've gone without touching your phone. And what we do is we reward you points for the amount of kilometers you've covered. And then Toyota, it's not just for Toyota drivers, by the way, everyone gets to use this. But Toyota have worked out deals with a number of reward partners, and you can turn your points into rewards, physical rewards. So you can go to a Circle K. They were Topaz till yesterday. You go to a Circle K and you retrieve a voucher for free coffee through the app, and you get free coffee because you did this good deed, if you like. So this was done with Radical, with Toyota, and with the Road Safety Authority. It launched last September, and Toyota did a press release about a month back to say that since launch, we've racked up over 12 million distraction-free kilometers. And I think that's the kind of business benefit you really can get behind. But thinking about them from a practical point of view, Toyota get to be a driving force behind good habits in terms of driving. The Road Safety Authority are meeting their stated goals, right? So, I mean, we've no proof that there's less accidents, and I don't think anybody will ever claim there has been less accidents. But what we do know is the users of this app have racked up 12 million kilometers of distraction-free driving. Now, when I think about mobile apps, I think of iOS and I think of Android. Unfortunately, sorry, Microsoft. Microsoft Phone is dead, categorically. But when I think about iOS and Android, I also think about tablets. And a tablet can also be a great tool for the job. And again, this is another example which I think has a pretty impressive business benefit. I don't know if any of you has ever gone to the Guinness Storehouse. It's great. Go there, enjoy it. But they offer this feature that if you buy goods at the storehouse, you can have them shipped home by DHL. And here's how this used to work. You got to the top of the queue with your jumpers and your glasses and all that sort of stuff. And the cashier says, do you know we can ship that home for you? And you go, great. And they hand you a DHL airway bill, and you fill it out, and you pay for your shipping, and you leave all your stuff, and you go, and that's great. You've got this service where you can ship all your stuff home, obviously aimed at foreign tourists, American tourists, and so on. Except, when the storehouse gets busy, a cashier isn't exactly motivated to offer you a service that's just about to slow them down. They've got a stack of people in front of them. They're not going to say, hey, do you know I can ship that home? They're just going to go next. So the customer doesn't get to know about it. Also, as a customer, when somebody kind of springs an offer on you, you're not always inclined to take it, right? So, a cashier, when they do say it to you, they say, we can ship this home, and the guy's you're all hassled, you've just paid for it, and you go, look, do you know what, just give me it in a bag, I'll take it home myself. And even if they do it, they fill it out with their handwriting, and there's always transcription problems and all that sort of stuff, so it can lead to some problems. So DHL came to us and said, we have this idea, it was actually their own idea, we produced this thing. And what it is it's a custom-made kiosk. It's got a 12.9-inch iPad Pro, and then it's a bit hard to see. There's a slot there, but in there's also a Bluetooth printer, a receipt printer. Now, I don't know if any of you ever worked with kiosk technology in the past. Normally, they had monster tower machines and printers that look like they belong in a factory, and touch screens that you had to mash your hand on to get any sort of response out of. An iPad is just so much better. That kiosk has nothing in it. You open it, it's almost empty. There's a shelf on it for some receipt rolls. There's a printer which is wireless. And that sits in the Guinness storehouse with a sign saying, "Did you know you can ship your stuff home?" And now what happens is people go up to it, they fill out their details, they pick a size of a box, and it spits out 2 receipts, one for themselves and one to hand to the cashier. They go up to the cashier and they pay their thing, and their stuff gets shipped home. It also auto-submits it off to DHL, so DHL don't have to interpret somebody's handwriting. They don't have to understand foreign character sets. That's all done. But here's the thing. A month after that went in, DHL sales were up 30% from the storehouse. That's in 1 month, 30%. They did an audit a year later, and that's produced a 60% increase in their sales through the storehouse. As a result, they've put one of these into Epic. They've put one of these into Terminal 2 at Dublin Airport. And they've put a couple into their drop-in centres. So real, actual business benefits from a mobile app. So I guess that's kind of where I want to leave it. It's mobile. The mobile app ecosystem isn't just the App Store. Yet there are people who've made businesses out of the App Store, but maybe it's time that we in Ireland started looking at our own businesses and say, can we do better? Can we produce a mobile app that's compelling and useful for our users? Thanks for your time.